I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome, West Point, Mississippi.
Here we are.
Lanny, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, hunting season started. We got all kind of stuff going on here. Got some good guests in the house.
We do.
I would say we have esteemed guests sitting
we do.
there on the couch.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
And let me go ahead and introduce them so that we can get them included in the conversation as early as possible. But I am looking at Malcom Reed,
The master.
the barbecue guy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and next to him, we've got Mikey Dyer. And
What?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
Rich,
we got to
can
redo
you
You got the buzzer, Mikey. You got your bride.
Yeah, cancel.
He just hit all the buttons. He got excited.
We said food, and Richie lost it.
Yeah, so I went crazy and went haywire on that one. So
I don't
here you
know.
go, Mikey.
There we go. That's what we meant to have.
Well, and sitting in the wings, we tried to get him to join us, but we can't get him to. Is Vandy Stubbs?
Our very own.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there he is. He's hiding behind that television there. So, Dudley, good. You look happy.
Man, I am happy. All is good.
Nothing could go wrong for Dudley
No.
for at least a couple of weeks.
He still
now.
has his aura around.
Lots
No,
of
it's called
Deadly
euphoria.
Dudley.
That's right.
lots of oak trees right on the verge of dropping.
Oh, they're dropping in my house. There's, I mean,
It's a crazy
raining.
year, though. It's like some trees are just about to kill themselves, loaded in the same species right next to it, nothing.
Yep.
And then there's like a void of like say, whatever reason, sawtooths.
Yeah.
I've talked to like 30 people that planted some or they know them, got them in their yard to play. Nobody's even seen an acorn from one yet.
Malcolm, Mikey, what's
We've
the
got
verdict?
a prime example. Man, our red oaks, they are loaded, they're dropping. White oaks hadn't started yet, but Mikey, you got a yard full of sawtooths.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I planted them all down my driveway, and in some of my little pasture areas out there that I've got sawtooths in.
And you got a big crop this year?
None.
Oh, okay.
None.
Not
First
a tree
year.
one.
Okay.
I think it was
ever.
the
First
Yeah,
year.
So I'm hearing it everywhere. And then
Yes.
occasionally I'll hear somebody say, well, I think I talked to a guy that said he had 19 acres of them
Good
Wow.
grief.
and not a single one produced. And then I've got people saying one, but my theory on it is, so they're in their own subgenus, also called a section. It's called Ceres.
Right.
So it's not a red, it's not a white. They take 2 years to produce acorns. I looked that up for Bobby yesterday.
That's it.
And so we had, the Christmas cold front where it
2 years
went
ago.
from like 70 to 15 in
Oh,
like
yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah, or something
And
like
then
that.
the following spring, we had a late frost. Was that on March 24th,
Yes.
maybe?
Yeah, it was late.
In most parts of the
South.
eastern half of the country.
So we had a very poor white oak crop last year. I know that I've got some swamp chestnuts that we cleared out around first bought this place out here 24 years ago, and it's never not dropped a bunch of acorns every single year. It's like crazy, but it has fertilizer, water, it's right on the edge of a slough,
Yeah,
it's perfect
yeah,
soil,
moist down there.
everything's just right. And last year had 0, so I just got to believe that freeze did something such strange stuff to even food plots. I've got landscape plants that have been there for 30 years. It killed them. I mean, it was such a strange deal. And they're 2 years in succession out. It's got to be that too, because there's just none.
Yeah.
And our normal native oaks and stuff are here and there. There's some weak spots. Obviously, we had a bad white oak crop last year. Some reds are soft this year, but it has to be that crazy. They said it was the fastest drop, like in recorded history, of temperature, and it was not that it just dropped, got so cold, is that it went from like days and days of 70, nothing had a chance to temper and get ready for the
Right,
cold.
just dropped.
And just hammered it. Just like, what'd he say? Just like not putting antifreeze in the car.
Yeah. And then so sawtooths flower later than our native oaks.
Right.
They're more like May.
Yeah, they keep their leaves on there.
And so
forever.
only thing I can think is that late frost must have messed up the, what I would call the pre-flowers, right? Before they flowered.
Right.
Well, we mentioned a few weeks ago, hey, what are y'all seeing out there? And we've had a lot of listeners contact us and say, hey, I don't have any acres. But like you said, Dudley, occasionally there'll be somebody that I got one tree that is loaded this year.
And also, the gene pool, obviously it's not a native species. And, I don't think we brought many of those things over before they started being distributed. So I would say the gene pool of sawtooth is nothing compared to some of our native oaks. So if you have a swing in one direction, they're probably all going to swing that direction. There's no diversity there. So
look, before we get started down this road, the blood on the biologic this time of year. I'm seeing a lot of stuff. I'll go ahead, Dudley, and I'll throw out a couple of them. There's a guy from over in South Alabama, Central Alabama, named Hunter Smith, killed a heck of a buck that was still in full velvet this past week. A young lady named Tristan Dillon killed her first bow kill. It was an 8-point. That was a great deer. Easton Hunter from over in Central Alabama went to Georgia, killed his first buck this past weekend. And I'm going to throw this one out. This one made me smile. Charlotte Lindsay, Jeff Lindsay's little girl.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, killed her first deer. It was a heck of a deer in Georgia.
Imagine that.
Yeah, she's going to be eat up with it.
They are the deer dudes now.
They are. And I've got two more. Luke Sykes, a young bow hunter down around Pine Level, Alabama, killed up an 8.5-year-old buck with his bow. He's a young guy. This is a heck of a deer. And then Aiden, I'm going to mess up his last name, Hayden Madalena, killed an 8-point in South Carolina. His dad sent the picture in. Kid wearing all
We'll
bottom
take up the whole broadcast if you
I
keep on.
got
It's
one more
just a
too.
bunch of them. Go ahead.
Brandon McGarity.
That was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a
wasn't
couple
it?
weeks ago, killed a great deer with his bow. Sure did.
He's slick now.
Go- oh, he's slick
He
now.
is slick.
Dudley, you got anything?
yeah, old John Maddox McDaniels killed a huge mature 9-point with his crossbow earlier. That's Rusty's son.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
I heard that was a really big deer.
Let me see it.
I'm looking at it. It's a beautiful deer.
Now,
Come on, that's a great deer.
I mean,
They're all good. But that
6
was
or
a good
8-year-old buck.
is he Rusty's got a son that's like an unbelievable athlete.
They all are, but
think,
the
yeah.
oldest one is Wyatt, and he is a top prospect in baseball and football.
What's the chance he'll go to Mississippi State?
Probably not really good. And honestly, the trajectory he's on in baseball, the chances of him going to college are probably not real good.
Oh,
'Cause
wow.
He's going to go all
He's
the way.
probably going to get drafted, but you never know. But man, I don't know if y'all have ever seen him. Daniel and Neil keep up with him like a hero. So they're updating me about him all the time and how good he's a quarterback. And, is unbelievable as a catcher, I think, in baseball. But he was already in the 9th grade. He was the number 1 or 2 prospect in the entire state of Mississippi. And a shout out to Rusty. He's been here. He's a pillar of the brand for a very long time. He is one thing I will say, right, wrong, different, anything else, we love him so much, but he is a great dad and father.
Oh my gosh.
He is the best. And you see it in these kids, not just that they're great athletes. I mean, Rusty comes from, he played college baseball at Ole Miss, so we're forgiven for that. Yeah, that's okay. Those are hometown boys too. And, but he just has raised up there. Just yes, sir, no, sir. Appreciative about everything. They're just great, great kids.
Yeah.
And shout out to them.
I don't see how they fit it all into their schedule.
I don't
mean,
know. He's
they're
busy
busy.
now.
Going on
They're
these
busy.
awesome hunts and
Playing
all the
ball
athletics,
all over
man.
the country. Yeah.
Malcolm, you're a big college sports fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm more from up north there, Toxie.
T-Son.
They got my money up there. So, but my wife's a state grad, and so I'm kind of
Yeah, you better be careful now.
Y'all are a mixed relationship.
We got a mixed relationship, but I still pull for the dogs. I've got a lot of ties.
Well,
down.
look,
I've got an uncle down there.
Hey, it's all in fun.
It is all in fun.
It's kind of like us. We're the hometown boys for Mississippi in this whole world. We're competing in, so they're hometown boys too. We have to be for them. So that's when we cross that state line, we have trouble, right, Bobby?
We do, for sure. Yeah. Sometimes we just have to keep our mouth shut, Malcolm. But look, when I think about college sports, I think about tailgating. I think about barbecue. That's a big chunk of it.
Absolutely,
Unbelievable part of it.
That's a big part of what we do is share recipes and give people ideas on how they can make some really good tailgate food. And this time of year especially, but going into deer hunting season, everybody's getting ready for these new camp recipes too. So that's a big thing.
And Malcolm, where are y'all from?
We're from Hernando, up north, way up north, Hernando, DeSoto County.
Homeboys.
Yankees.
Was that named after Hernando DeSoto?
It absolutely was.
Don't y'all think he gets a little too much credit for? I mean, we'd have found the Mississippi River anyway if he hadn't have done
That's
it.
the Tom Bigby.
Eventually.
Well, he found the Mississippi.
Oh, he did?
He
You sure?
Yeah. That's what he's
I'm
credited
thinking maybe
for.
some Native Americans probably beat him to it.
That's what I'm saying.
Somebody knew it was there.
I mean, we would have found it anyways. All I'm saying. But so, how did all this? I mean, you guys are celebrities with the barbecue.
Barbecue is something I grew up around. It seemed like every family event we had, it was around a barbecue, whether it was 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day, football season. It was all around. And that's some of the best times I remember growing up. So Memphis in May is the world barbecue cooking championship for pork in the world. And it's right in our backyard. So every little town up North Mississippi had a spring festival or something that was kind of a practice tune-up event for all these big teams cooking. Well, I grew up going to those events and hanging out, and I just got it. And me and my buddies got into cooking, and we started doing it for fun, and never realized it was going to be a full-time job. But it's very rewarding because I get to, it's not so much about competition and winning and beating somebody cooking barbecue. It's more about sharing that experience and teaching people, what they can do in their backyards and all that. It's kind of where it's went. And barbecue's grown into this just massive fruit group now. It's one of the big ones.
And I mean, I was just going to say barbecue in my lifetime has become so much more than barbecue. Oh, it is kind of a lifestyle type thing, as opposed to just pull pork off the grill. It is really, really expanded to embrace like the whole experience of cooking, and people take more pride in their we just call it barbecue. And if they're grilling and they're cooking outside, they take as much or more pride in that as just about any pastime
And
they have.
you don't have to have a degree in the culinary arts. There's so many people that are so incredibly knowledgeable about the barbecue realm that just learn by doing and learning from others.
It used to be barbecue was a closely held secret. You had these people that had these recipes they developed over the years, and they didn't want to give it out because that's how they were making a living. So, you had your grandma's sauce recipe, or you had your granddaddy's rib rub, or, you had all these things and nobody really shared it. They kept all that secret. And so it kind of came a turn, I guess, when the internet got big, you started seeing these forums pop up, and then websites like YouTube where people could make videos, and you started seeing these people start wanting to talk about it. So I saw, I realized that, man, let's share some of this stuff. Now, I don't know it all. I'm not the best by any means, but as long as you're willing to share and get better and learn, that's kind of what I say. I'm a student of it because I enjoy that aspect, and that's what passes it on, a lot like our hunting does. We get youth involved. We take the kids hunting. We're teaching them something that they can pass on, hopefully, to their kids so we can enjoy this. Well, it's the same approach with barbecue because I think that's important to our heritage.
100%.
Extremely.
I bet you're a heck of a guy to have as a member of a hunting club.
I usually get devoted to the kitchen duty.
Well, I got to tell you, hunting and food go hand in hand.
When he comes to town is one of the few times I see Vandy get shoved off to the side a little bit.
Chef Boyardee gets the boot in the butt.
So y'all got a club or a camp or something?
We do, yes, sir, up in Tate County. And it's more about camp lifestyle.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and we enjoy it. We don't have a big area, but we're blessed with taking care of the habitat and learning that approach of it. And then the deer and the turkey and the other small game, they're all coming to us. We're in a great spot, but it's we've noticed just over the years we've had it that just the habitat improvement is helping us tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
So are you a guy that on a Saturday afternoon you're maybe not going to the stand because you're staying there to watch football and cook, or are you slipping out of the stand a little bit early? Is somebody watching the grill?
A little bit of both. I like to go when I go, but I'd rather slip off when nobody's there, go through the week. And on weekends, and we usually have kids with us, so we're taking I'm taking my son or Mikey's son. We're taking those to stands. We've got them old enough to where we feel comfortable hunting by themselves. We can slip back and take care of dinner and everything, but we get our hunts in too.
I tell you, the camp life and hunting and food just go hand in hand. For all the years we were entertaining at Portland Landing, we couldn't control the hunting, but we could always make the food right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So did y'all grow up hunting together, or did y'all meet later on?
No, we met later on.
Okay. Well, y'all are pretty inseparable. Every time I've seen one of you, I've seen the other. So
That's my bodyguard.
Dudley, why don't you do your rapid fires here and let us get to know them a little bit on the front end?
Oh, well, I'd love to. And everybody thinks I'm asking about hunting stuff, but I really want to know what these people eat, because I do hate to say that I kind of judge people on the
All
foods
of your
they grew up
questions
around.
rapid fire questions. Most of them have to do with food.
Yeah.
They
So
do. No matter
but
what.
anyway,
they
I asked even more this time. I wrote down even more this time. So we'll see how this goes. So you ready?
We're ready.
All right. Do you soak deer in evaporated milk before frying, or just dip in the batter and go?
Not evaporated milk. I may use a little buttermilk for the tenderizing effect.
Okay.
But
buttermilk
yep.
it is.
No,
All right.
right.
I was also going to ask, are you a buttermilk person or not?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I keep a jug in the
Biscuits
fridge.
and cornbread for sure.
All right,
right.
next question. Cathead biscuits or layered biscuits?
I'm cathead all
Just
day.
butter or butter and jelly?
Man, I'm more butter molasses.
Okay.
Ooh.
Pork sausage or venison pork sausage?
Deer port sausage.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we-
I'm a little surprised by that. Fish fry, on the bone or fillets?
Ooh, I'm filet.
Okay. Go into the game or stay at the tailgate?
Tailgate.
Fried shrimp or boiled shrimp?
Bull shrimp
Chili with beans or chili without?
with
Cornbread, sweet or unsweet?
my mama makes sweet cornbread. It's the best.
All right. Favorite cut on the deer for grilling? Can't be backstrap or tenderloin.
Oh,
Nice one, Dud.
yeah, that's a tough one.
That
there
tells
for
you what the
grilling,
right
too,
answer
for
is, at
grilling.
least.
Yeah, man, it can't be tenderloin either.
I mean, we
I'm
know
gonna have
those
to-
are
I'm gonna-
obvious.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the steak out of that hind quarter roast then.
There you go. Thanksgiving, deviled eggs or green bean bundles?
Deviled eggs,
Giblet gravy or no giblets?
giblets,
Thanksgiving turkey, dry brine or wet brine?
wet brine,
Vacuum seal or freezer paper?
vacuum seal.
Fried turkey nugs or Dove poppers?
Oh, turkey nugs. That ain't even close.
Mikey, same? Yeah, I love the turkey. All right. Deer burger, add the fat or keep it lean?
Add the fat and some bacon.
Boiled peanuts, seasoned or just salt?
I'm just salt on them, but I mean I ain't gonna be mad at a Cajun boiled one.
I'm the same way. Hunt a food plot or hunt in the woods?
Food plot. I'm lazy. Ain't gonna lie. I'm looking for groceries, and that's where they coming.
Have either of y'all ever made a pot of greens from a food plot?
Oh, yep.
Okay,
Last
okay.
year, every year.
Wait on the 6 to 8 year old buck. I'm happy with anything 4+ or any rack buck will do.
If I'm gonna kill a buck, he's gonna be an old one.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
shoot a doe.
Deer camp, pick one. Prep for the hunt, or after the hunt?
I'm gonna prep for the hunt. I love the habitat stuff more than I do the hunting.
Bob Dixon said it on that ad.
Yep.
There's in Mossy Oak. There's 2 seasons. There's hunting season and there's getting ready for hunting
right.
season.
That's right.
All right, lastly, and this is an important question. It's about lice treatment. Do you use blue plate mayo or topical spinosad?
Blue plate mayo. All right.
Good answer. Good answer.
I have done that for a fact.
Who has got lice?
That's somebody's been listening to a podcast, probably.
It happens, Bobby.
I had a moment of pure panic. It was one of them things your kids' school calls that every kid's having to get treated for lice.
Oh yeah, including the parents.
Yeah, it's
been there, done that.
Man, my head's itching already.
I've been through it too. Yeah.
If you haven't, you're lying about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'll answer. In a moment of freaking out, and I've Googled it before. You can put mayo in your hair. They don't. They
That's
like
suffocating.
clean. They like clean hair, and so if you put something greasy in there, it'll mess them up really bad.
And blue plate is the best
That's
way to go.
that's just my mayo of choice. Grew up with it. So.
Hair, tomato sandwich, whatever it happens to be.
Toxie, have you? I had never
No,
experienced this.
I'm
I
out of
hadn't
this
either.
one.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I am
I'm
too.
let y'all
But
know.
No
your
comment.
preference on mayonnaise is your blue plate.
I don't
guy.
want to alienate any brand out there,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of a Dukes guy.
Dukes.
Helms, but
I like Dukes too. I
They're
like
definitely in
Malcom.
the top 3. Dukes
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, listen up. Let me tell you about an awesome deal Springfield Armory is offering now through the end of 2024. When you purchase a brand new model 2020 Waypoint or Redline rifle, you'll receive a model 2020 Rimfire rifle with a black synthetic stock absolutely free. That's an over $400 value on the house. You know we love Springfield Armory and their top-notch products you'd be proud to hand down to your kids and grandkids. So why wait? Learn more about this incredible offer at GearUp2024.com. Springfield Armory. Defend your legacy.
See these people? When the clock strikes 5, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. They have to do these things. They have to do those things. Enter the all-new LS Tractor MT2 and MT2E, a relentless force of innovation. Redesigned with a new hood and cab built for comfort and visibility, with enhanced lifting capacity to get the job done. Making these people the ones everyone else calls those people. Visit your local LS Tractor dealer today.
So, you guys spend a lot of time at the camp in the summertime getting ready?
We do. We're
What,
there all the
what
time.
are some of the things y'all are doing?
A lot of times we're just we use it for recreation too, because we come down on the weekends during the summer and hang out and cook stuff like that. So just maintaining the trails. There's always a tree in the road or something like that, but a lot of times during the summer we're just maintaining most of our plots and things like that, spraying. If we haven't planted, early in the summer and the spring, we're planting, spraying, fertilizing. Every week is something to do down there. There's not a day that we don't go down there. There's something that can be done.
Yeah.
Burn program. We started burning. I mean, that's been real critical for us. We've got a lot of invasive stuff we're trying to get controlled. This is just a lot of it have been cow pasture for years and growed up, and so we're fighting invasives now, and the burning's been the best for it.
Be still my heart.
No
I
doubt
like
about it.
hearing
We got
that.
that battle going on north of here too. Yeah, a bunch of fescue eradication.
I'm scared I'm gonna lose my annual title, arsonist of the year. Where Lanny may have pushed me out.
Yeah,
of the way this
Lanny's
year.
got everybody.
He is
beat.
like got smoke in his eyes every day. What can I burn? What can I burn? And he's been on it.
How many acres of dead fescue are we up to? Or you?
Us. I mean, it's a team effort. You can't burn alone. That's
It's
for
kind of
sure.
like snakes. Only good fescue's dead fescue.
Yeah, we've burned a lot of fescue, so I don't even know how many acres.
It
now.
doesn't like fire a lot.
But I will say, we had a quail count before we started, and it is triple what it was since we started.
It's amazing how quick they react.
Is that in terms of coverage that you're seeing?
Yes,
Birds, yep.
three times the amount. Now we only saw one, so now we got three. So that's still
Yeah,
much
but
farther
if
through.
you can maintain that trajectory, I think it's part
Yeah.
of it. The more you have, then the predators start recognizing them again. But
yeah, we're gonna.
it's
see about
no
that.
question. Wherever I've started a burn process, they appeared every time.
And
Yeah.
like y'all said, y'all got a lot of cattle pastures up there, and they're just worthless. I hate to say it for wildlife in the traditional cow
traditional
pasture
sense,
sense.
that's right.
But fescue? Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you spray and burn that stuff, and all of a sudden you get all these natives popping back, and
Yep.
suddenly the birds have somewhere to nest again.
At least the
and-
cattle will keep it at bay. It's just where it spreads from
Oh,
there
it gets
unchecked.
so thick when it's
And
not
I've
grazed.
Gotten some places that has been going on for 30 years unchecked. It was just such a mat of stuff. Nothing could get through it.
It's amazing. What I've noticed is like when you're walking around or driving your bike through those, fire lanes and such, all the rabbits you flush now compared to,
What it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Bobby,
fire's great.
also we started predator control too. That was a big thing. We started trapping. We started coyote hunting, trying to help those small game populations, the turkey population. And since we've started doing it, we've noticed it has really, really improved with what we're seeing from rabbits, from squirrels, from the turkey poults this year. I mean, we've really, that's what the enjoyment I get out of it, because I can see that stuff. And at first, it takes a little bit of time, But when you can go and you start seeing more animals, it makes you want to go down there. It makes you want to hang out at camp, and it just makes it a better place to be
100%.
by what we're doing for the land.
Absolutely.
You know, the whole trapping aspect, it really helps a lot. We hear that a lot.
Not just the nest predators, but broadly, I can say from having, I'm calling names, but he's really good. He's kind of a friend of ours. He's really, really good. I've been getting him every year for like 5 or 6 straight years. And, I can't really do it on all the places, but on one particular property. And he's really good on coats too. And, he might catch 20 or 25 a year on this place. And it dwindles now. But what I was just saying, you see over time, a huge difference in everything. Just taking the pressure off of everything. Way more rabbits. Obviously, turkeys don't seem to disappear. That's anecdotal, but they're not as nocturnal. You just see, and they're there. I've got cameras up everywhere. They're still around, but they're not nearly as many. And I think it makes a big difference in my own opinion. All of those predators and just keeping them in check. You're not going to eliminate them.
No, and it's funny. You lower the numbers. You think it's just from predation, but I think a lot of it has to do with deer, especially being stressed, knowing they're around.
Think about it from the time they're a fawn if they escape them. I still remember when our buddies at Big Creek employed Auburn to do a study because they're one of the longest running great deer hunting commercial places in the country, and they were just having terrible time. It was going down, so they brought Auburn in. I guess this might have been 6 or 7 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but I do remember that they were losing. All of a sudden, over a 2-year study, they were losing over 75% of their fawns to coats, just coats.
Are y'all bow hunting?
A little bit, not a whole lot. Mosquitoes, and it's still 90 degrees up there where we are.
Global warming's not been kind to early season bow hunting.
No, it hasn't.
Y'all's plots this year, are y'all like everybody else? We're struggling.
We are. We did get, we had just a little bit of rain, and it was probably when Helene came through. And it was just a day, and we knew, so we got in a little bit of plants then, but with our year-round program, we still had a lot of vetch up. We still had buckwheat. We still got a lot of standing corn. So we were lucky enough that we waited on taking out a lot of that food source. So the deer were still hitting those pretty hard. And then it gave us time to, we just finished up putting some seeds in the ground, hoping we get a rain event next week.
Yeah, we all got our fingers crossed there.
But we went it's been almost 6 weeks where we are without a drop of rain. Now, we've been getting some lower temperatures, so it's making some heavy dew in the morning, and that's helping our plots. But they're struggling. And we noticed real quick, we pulled all our cameras that we had out on some summer food sources after the muscadine, after the persimmons dropped. The deer kind of disappeared. And we noticed that just, following forums or hearing people talk.
Stuff's dying.
That people think their deer's gone. Their deer gone. Well, we've noticed, we went looking last week for our acorn drop, and we found them. That's where all the deer sign is now. So they have pulled off into the woods. And that's what we've noticed. So
I'm seeing deer in places I never see deer, and they're under a big pasture oak in the middle of next to a neighborhood or in places They're out in open spaces to get to food right now, crazy. And yes, definitely acorns are the hot thing.
And of course, now we're getting the true mature acorn drop. But the last 3-4 weeks, it's been so dry. Yeah. We're getting what we refer to as aborts.
That's right.
So you'll see little green acorns on the ground, and they'll eat them. Especially when there's not any food around, like there has been. But they really like to wait till those mature ones start dropping.
Tell you what is saving us right now on these food plots is our radishes. It's unbelievable how they're prospering. Everything, even the wheat and stuff in a blend I did, is dying, getting yellow, shriveling, and they are just look like they're getting irrigated. They look beautiful, even in a dust bowl. I've been so impressed with them.
Well, yeah, that's about all we always try to get our brassicas in kind of early, and hopefully we get that one early rain, and some of us did from Helene. But gosh, this later stuff has been tough. I've been driving by all these farmers that are now doing a lot of cover cropping, and you wouldn't believe all the brassicas that are doing great just from folks throwing seed on the surface at the right time. It just kind of reminds me of the throw and mow, and or just brassicas in general are great. Get them out early.
You catch a rain.
If your later fall plantings don't pan out, at least you got some brassicas coming up.
Well, our biologic clover is holding us too, and
that's good.
it's looking great right now. As long as it's not in our full sun areas on top of hills.
Yeah,
that's the only part where it's knocked back. But in our shady spots in the bottoms, that clover's looking so good.
They'll
right
hammer
now.
it too.
And we are getting a heavy dew right now, and that's got to be.
It helps some, but it's only to a degree at some point.
Yeah, you sure don't want to be plowing anything.
If that root's if that's dusty dry all the way to the farthest down root, they're just gonna kill it.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but we got hit with the army worms here a couple weeks.
Yeah,
ago.
Everybody
real bad
did.
this year.
We had a big late wave of them. We had the first time I've ever had to en masse spray food plots. I've
But you
seen
got
them
we
eat here and
planted
there.
earlier too, though.
Not really.
Not
Not
really?
me. It was up in September already. But we had a late wave of them, and I mean, and you can just, all you got to do is ask the co-op or people around, and they'll say, oh, yeah, everybody, they just roll through for whatever reason, another late wave. I think we're done. Once we got down to like 34, 35 degrees. That usually does them in.
Well, we got our first frost last week, so that helped us big
nice.
time. We stuff starting to brown a little. We noticed that.
Yeah, we got some very light frost. I've seen a few species that got dinged by
We
it pretty
did?
good. Yeah.
Oh wow!
It's funny how I think maybe it's a combination, or maybe, the temperature, a mile away might be 2 or 3 degrees different. But I looked at all the late, as y'all know, I planted duck stuff. We had such a drought in the summer. It was really late. And it all looks really good except one place in the frost. Right? I mean, half a mile from something else that looks gorgeous. Burned it up. A frost burned it up. It was like a mile away from everything else.
Huh.
Crazy.
So I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm not a big foodie guy. Now I love to eat. But is there 2 or 3 things that you could tell a guy that would help improve his barbecuing skills? Is there? I mean, just there's, you know what I'm asking.
Number one is patience, because you're not going to rush something. So you give yourself plenty of time if you're cooking, say, a pork butt or a brisket or a slab of ribs. But it's not always just about the temperature and time. You got to cook to what's internal temperature. So get a meat probe thermometer that you can stick in there, and that's going to change the way you cook by learning what temperatures meat's done at. Because there's been a lot of times people say, well, I've got guests coming over at noon. This should have been done, but I'm still here cooking at 2 o'clock, and people are standing around me with forks and knives waiting on the food. Well, you didn't give yourself enough time. You didn't plan. You probably didn't know, what temperature things were. So that's one of the main things. But it's not difficult. It's not rocket science. Starting a fire, getting it up to temp, and putting meat on. You can season with just about anything you like. But just knowing when to take it off, that's the biggest thing. When's it done?
Bobby, I think you're going to say the different meats or kind of different internal temps are accepted or not. And so talk to us about, I know like chicken, 160 maybe?
165 is what they recommend.
So, and then like a good piece of beef or ribeye, 125, 130 maybe, and then 35. Well, talk to us about like wild game versus, grocery store meat and the various, what you think is safe and acceptable and tastes good? Because that's a big topic.
It's a big thing.
Well, and let me ask you this real quick. Throw out a name of a good thermometer, because I got one, and every time that can't be right. I'm like, I just don't trust my thermometer.
The brand I use is called ThermoWorks, and I'm not affiliated with them. I just like their products. It's one that they're the ones that chefs use.
Maybe you will be now.
But if you use, spend a little bit of money on them. They're not super expensive. You can get a cheap, inexpensive one, $30-$40, and they run sales all the time. Well, that's all you need. But they're instant. They calibrate them before you get them, and they have excellent customer service where if something goes wrong, they're going to replace it. That's what I look for in a company.
Do you push that probe down to the center of the meat and get the reading there? What if you get up against a bone? Is it going to?
It's going to give you false readings. Usually what I say is you want to stick it in the thickest place in the meat, whatever meat you're doing, away from the bone. So thinner meats, it's tougher, but a lot of the thermometers I'm talking about, they read on just the tip of that thermometer, so you can get it pretty accurate even at the surface. But you have to know it's the core temperature of the meat that you want to make sure is at that safe temperature.
Okay, go ahead.
That's the part. So that's where you want to take it. So I always say it's safe to go to the thickest part of the meat away from the bone as far as you can. Usually it's about dead center, depending on what it is, but that's where you want to get that temp.
So what are the different meats?
Well, the thing with game is a lot of times with me, it's better. You're either going to cook it on the medium rare side to get maximum flavor, or you're going to braise it down and cook it to where it's more like pot roast, where it's really fully done and falling apart. There's no in between. Like medium well backstrap is not good.
No, it's not.
It's not. Even when you get into eating duck, it's not. Medium well duck is not good.
No.
So that's why I'm always. Usually I go by depending on where the meat come from. If it's off a hindquarter, if it's off a shoulder, those types of muscles are going to take longer to break down. They're not going to be as good when they're on that rare to medium rare side of things. And so you want to take those cuts to your muscles that don't work as much. Say that backstrap, those inner loins. Those are pieces that you can get by with cooking. I like them rare myself. I'm a rare guy. That's where I want to eat my backstrap. But if I'm cooking, a whole shoulder, I'm just going to put it on there and cook it for hours until I can pull the bones out. They're my instant rate thermometers on that. When I can shake that bone and it comes out, it's done and ready. Now, fowls are a little different because, you don't think of, so we're eating pheasant, we're eating quail, we're eating dove, we're eating duck, we're eating turkey. This isn't like our supermarket poultry that we're getting where we have to cook it up to 165. You can actually eat it at lower temperatures, so you can eat duck rare. Mm-hmm. You can eat quail rare. Turkey, I don't do a lot of, undercooking turkey. I like to fry. When we talked about it earlier, that was
hard to beat.
It's hard to beat, but I have smoked some of them, but I always take them up to about 160. But turkey to me is, I treat it, I treat it more, if any game I treat more like a piece of regular supermarket chicken would probably be turkey. But that's just my personal taste to it.
So the bone in, what does that bone, I hear Vandy talk about it adds flavor.
Bone does.
Help me understand that.
You're getting, for one, the meat's still attached to it, so you don't have as many places to lose moisture. It can be juicier cooking it on the bone. But that bone's full of nutrients. It's full of the marrow. That stuff comes out and it radiates heat. It helps cook it a little better too, because that bone heats up and cooks stuff at a even temperature. So that's one reason why I like cooking it on it. But I think you do get a lot better flavor cooking it on the bone as akin to cutting it off.
Mm-hmm. It sure looks appetizing.
Yeah, typically, that's growing up in a meat business family with Daddy and all. I mean, he always taught me the best tasting was going to be next to the bone. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
What about, okay, I know, your forte is a lot of barbecue. I see a lot of, store pork and beef, and that's your forte, but you obviously love cooking game too.
Absolutely.
Vandy and I kind of have this thing where we argue with some of our chef buddies about that venison. What's the term I'm thinking of? I can't think of in my mind. The gaminess. When you're making some kind of broth or cooking deer meat with bones in it, can you honestly say that you don't taste gaminess when you're cooking deer meat on the bone?
I think the gaminess comes from how that meat's handled once it's been harvested.
Okay.
If it's been properly butchered, I like to age mine. I like to.
We do too.
I just wrote a
How
note
long?
to talk about the number one thing on venison is the properly aging it. And I mean, and aging it, talk about what you do, and not just aging it, not a week or half a week or whatever. It's properly aging it fully. You know?
Mm-hmm. I like 30 days. That's where it breaks down.
That's where I am.
And that's where you get the best flavor.
But he said properly handled. So that's like every time you handle it at all, including just gutting it cleanly, you're introducing bacteria. So if you touch it, everything you do. So if it's, that deer's body is totally sterile when you kill it. So, until you introduce stuff, that's why we like to just, you gut them and hang them in the cooler?
That's preferred way.
Yes.
And then, I like to get them rinsed out as clean as quick as possible.
Absolutely.
Rinse down and then hanging in the cooler, spread out to where they can cool down. I like it to be, but it needs to be a dry cool. It can't be a moist cool or it'll mold.
That's right.
So you've got to make sure the humidity in whatever kind of cooler you're putting it in works.
I've seen Landy cut the mold off and cook it before.
What's the ideal humidity?
The insides.
I would say you want it down to less than 10%, I would say, in the humidity.
You'd have to almost get a dehumidifier.
Yeah, almost. I mean, so we struggle with that with a walk-in. We recently put a walk-in unit outside to where we can age more deer.
Good.
And so
what's the temperature you're trying to get it at?
I like it to be 30. We're above freezing, so it's between 34 and 40. That's ideal. Outside, that unit's going to work a little more. of what it's doing just because of the way it's set up. But as long as you can control the moisture, it's not a moist filling air inside it. We'll put some of these. They make these little dry canisters. It's like you see people put them in their houses and stuff. You can set one of those in there to pull some moisture out. They do make products that will act as a dehumidifier to control it. But usually you're going to be okay as long as you can just keep the moisture out of it the best you can.
You leaving the skin on them?
We've done it both ways.
Yeah.
We've hung them up with the hair, hide still on it, and we've skinned it off. I think Toxie's right. Once you go to doing that, you're chancing introducing more bacteria.
Well, it dries out a lot worse.
It dries out a lot.
It does
more.
dry out a lot.
We love
more.
to leave the hide on them.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason not to do that so when you finally do cut them up, the skin's harder to get off, but it's so much better
Not sealed
and safer to not mess the meat up, by not doing that.
I just don't like having to cut all that bark off that you could have eaten. So you
No
leave the
doubt.
hide on. It seems to slow the
Yes.
drying on the outer layer.
Correct.
Definitely
It does. It does.
But a lot of folks would adamantly disagree with us on that.
So when they
it's
age
just-
cattle hanging on the rail, that's when I grew up in a meat packing plant. They, they put a sheath back on them like a skin, and they didn't. I guess that's why they have to, or it dries it out, or you lose it quicker. So they put
Okay.
this specialty sheath on them back in the old days.
So those of us that aren't fortunate enough to have a walk-in cooler and we take it to the processor and drop the tailgate and hope somebody's going to take care of my animal. That deer's probably not getting aged at all, is it?
More
It's
than
from-
likely not.
They're missing
just
the boat.
a few days.
Laney's done it for years and aged them in a cooler.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Cooler aged on ice.
Yeah,
That's,
or old
it
dorm
works.
fridge.
It works.
Yeah, and you can put them in Ziplocs.
So-
They're moist too.
So I'm making sure I understand this right. Y'all are saying that a deer that's aged at about 39 degrees for 29 days.
38
So let's
degrees,
real
28
quick
days
meat
minimum.
science. And I went through that. I'm not trying to say I know it, but I listened to people that did. And that old saying, everybody can remember, it's so easy. Life begins at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And you have got to keep it under 40 degrees. It will spoil so fast. Literally, it's not like a gradual thing. At 40 degrees, that lactobacillus and stuff it's like 24 hours it'll be ruined.
So Malcolm, I'm looking at you.
Keep it in the 30s.
A piece of meat cooked that has been done like Toxie's saying, or aged, versus one that that the processor does for me, and I go pick up 7 days later because he's full and he needs me to come get it. You can tell a difference in the taste of that meat.
I would say yes.
I would 100%.
100%.
No ifs, ands, or
Your
buts about it.
hamburger, your sausage,
Everything.
especially any like fresh meat, cook or roast or the backstrap, huge difference. If nothing else,
Let's
if
do
you
a
can't-
taste test this year.
Yeah, get your
We did it with Jason.
get your meat processor to vacuum seal it. And you ask him a question, vacuum seal.
Mm-hmm.
So then you can take that and go age it some, maybe not 30 days because it's already gotten touched a lot of stuff. But you can still age it and improve it dramatically if it's vacuum sealed.
Yeah, you could thaw it and then keep it in the fridge for a few days before you cook it.
A week or two. Yeah.
So when we go to a grocery store and buy a steak, Toxie, has it been aged?
No, just rarely not. If you see processed by, some places are really good with their meat. You will be able to find on there.
On
that
the
date.
box always.
Yeah, but I mean, they're aged to the degree, they don't sell them the day they kill them. So it's got some age on it when you buy it. But the really good ones, Manny can tell you that too. Even if some of the places, food service you order from that are really good, they'll mark on their date process so you'll know what you've got to play with.
And if you can buy it, if it's been processed and vacuum sealed, like this is commercial meat, if it's
Yes.
been vacuumed, sealed, and the process date, you can go 30 to 45 days in your refrigerator with those. We do it with briskets all the time because I want them to have at least 30, at least.
What's your just pick a temperature.
Like
If you had to pick one temperature to keep all that for aging, what would your? Because I know it's between
Yeah.
32 and 40.
I think Laney was right at 38.
38.
36, 38.
I'm 36,
Yeah, that's
38.
right there.
I'm a
right
36
there.
guy
Yeah.
just for safety.
I
but-
do 36 just to be safe because I'm not, I want
Yeah.
my thermometer to be right, but definitely 30. And I will say Malcolm is the first guy that has come in the podcast studio. We're talking about this subject that has been the 30 days with us. Everybody else has been what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're
it makes
crazy.
makes me feel good.
Well, I mean, there's so many variables to that, though.
There is.
He knows what he's doing. He handles it
yeah,
perfectly.
and we're lucky enough to do the same
because
thing.
I firmly believe if you're hanging it up and if you're not careful and you cut the guts open in some form or you gut shot them, that changes your game a little bit. Especially you can wash that out. I guess for me, I just go up in there and all that lining, I try to cut it on out and get that stuff
I get it
out of
clean
there.
as a whistle.
But you've released just billions of, trillions probably,
and
of bacteria that can affect it
and
a lot quicker.
It starts with shot placement. I mean, is where it really started.
Yeah.
So if you shoot one in the right spot, it's not near a big ordeal as if you don't.
No.
Yeah, I resemble that remark.
Yeah, you do.
So while we're here, is there a tip to a? You make a bad shot on a deer and you find it the next day or something. Is there a tip to going, this is still okay, or no, I probably don't need to?
Ooh, I don't know.
Is it just?
I mean, visually and smells what I'm looking at, but I mean, just a gut shot overnight. If it hadn't been cold, I would be real leery. You know, and that happens a lot in Mississippi. We don't get those super cold nights all the time. You know, it's a lot of times it's after Christmas before we're seeing it.
Hey, Lanny.
Hey, Bobby.
Have you ever wondered if your feeder went off, or if it's even got corn in it?
Yeah, you sit there at night wondering about it.
Moultrie has solved this. This is some high-tech stuff.
Fits on any feeder that helps monitor the level of feed and lets you know if it went off or not. And you can remotely control it.
Can I look at your feeder if we're on the hub?
I really hope not, but we're going to have to talk to the guys at Moultrie about that. This is the biggest thing in feeders since corn.
That's saying a lot.
With Feed Hub, there's no more stressing, no more guessing. This technology allows you to remotely monitor your feeders.
You know, we always say feed safely, do it the right way.
No doubt about it.
To learn more about it, visit moultrieproducts.com/feedhub. It's a great invention.
Unbelievable technology and products brought to us by our buddies at Moultrie.
So, hey, let me throw this out for the public, too, because I wrote a note to say it, and we get busy and I wouldn't say it. Sometimes I work things out. So I learned in the last maybe 5 years, well, this is important, that, and because a friend of ours is losing his sight because they ate really raw deer meat. And turns out they never froze it. And the doctors told them, never, ever eat venison that hasn't at least been frozen 24 to 48 hours.
Yep.
And so there's things that if you just eat it without ever freezing it. And so they had some, you know, and that got to me. I've done that.
Oh, yeah, we've all
I'm
done it.
going to talk about what this disorder was, and it's kind of a disease you get over or you don't. But I had that a long time ago when I was so sick. It's actually called toxoplasmosis, and not play on my name. So you think about hanging one in the cooler, and Lanny's done it too. And that's why I want to put this out there for people. You've aged it. It's hanging in the cooler. I had a walk-in cooler at my house. But even in there, and it's, oh my gosh, that stuff has been in there 20-something days already. I'm fixing to cut the backstrap out and cook it for my family right now. Guess what? You never froze it. Don't. I'm throwing it out there for everybody. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying how long it needs to be. You know, look it up or whatever. But don't eat deer meat that hasn't been frozen.
Yeah.
For at least a day or two. And that's what I was told from that. Do further research on, but I just got to say it, if it helps one person not catch something, I think
it
I
kills
read a
bacteria?
peer-reviewed study about that.
Yeah, and it's because also you're cooking deer meat and you're not cooking it to 160 or whatever.
So there's a bacteria or something.
No,
is it a bug? Or
It's a
worm?
microorganism, but it could be anything. It's just like it's so much safer to have frozen what you're going to eat. Right, wrong, or different.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like you're right.
And it doesn't change. I can't think. There's some fish that it changed. I can't think of any wild game that freezing it really changes anything.
Now, fish, it changes some stuff, but
Some fish.
As far as no, I can't either.
No.
But I don't know how many times we've taken deer and cooked those innerloins. That first, that was the first thing we
cooked.
fry
I'd say
up.
beat from what I heard about this, and
I'm probably going to be blind.
no, I mean it would have already gotten you. But I'm just saying, I just had to put that out there. I mean, and I'm not even saying I know anything. It's just what I'd heard about. So everybody look that up. We'll get further information from someone.
It's the
Be
same
careful.
thing as when like your wife's carrying a baby and the doctor says not to let your wife go near the litter box.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cats carry it, and especially when you live closer to a town that has cats. I was reading a peer review study about it a few years ago, and they said over 70% of the deer can carry it.
That's right.
Especially if you're closer to town, but even in the wild.
Well, it could also.
The only way to get it
I've
to
never
go
heard
away is to
this.
freeze it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Cats.
Now you can. That's why another thing for everybody out there to be sure and go ahead and I've gutted hundreds of deer with just my bare hands, and didn't think twice about it. Whatever. Wear some gloves. I mean, you really ought to wear gloves, especially if you're gonna get into the guts part of it. Now, I don't know if you can catch something like that. It's probably from eating it. I don't know.
But if you can catch it on your hand,
if you can catch it from eating meat that hadn't been frozen, then you probably can catch it from gutting a deer.
I know there's a wild disease you can get from wild hogs.
Bursitis.
Yeah, that's it.
Brucellosis.
Yeah, and that introduces just through skin contact, open wound, and there's no cure for it either.
Do you
and
barbecue
if
wild
you put
pigs?
gloves, it's just easier.
We have, yeah, we do.
I think it's a virus.
Yeah, I'd love to know some pig cooking, wild pig cooking tricks.
We need to eat more wild pigs because we got
it's leaner. I get it.
It is.
I've cut fat off of a pig and just thrown it in the skillet and cooked it and put a little salt on it and was blown away how similar it was to a store-bought pig.
Oh, yeah, in some cases better.
Sometimes it's not, but what are some tips on that?
Well, so what I've had, it goes back to the processing of that animal. If it's done correctly, if you can put a little age on it as well, it's fantastic. But I've had some that, man, you'd be like, I wouldn't swallow this.
So what are you looking? Are you looking for a 80-pound sow? Or
well, I mean, the smaller ones are going to be better. I probably wouldn't want to eat a big one, but less than 100 pounds. Those are the optimal size and the ones that I've cooked. And they're fantastic. I mean, I've had, and in fact, at the Foxhole Shootout, Chef Michael Hunter came and he cooked some that I would have swore to you wasn't a wild pig. It was amazing. It was fantastic. And so and I think it's just something overlooked. People don't really know what to do with it. A lot of times, you're shooting these things in bad conditions at night. Probably people aren't taking them and treating them exactly like they should. They're not getting the guts out fast enough. They're not getting chilled down. They're not getting hung up. They might ride around the truck half a day, and then somebody gives you a pig to eat. I'm very, very reluctant to take one from somebody.
Oh no,
because I don't know how it's been handled. It's one thing if we go out and we shoot one and we know what to do with it, but it's I think it goes back to just safety handling it, and always having that in mind when you're preparing something that you yourself or your family, your friend, anybody's going to eat. You've got to have that safety in mind with it.
Are there glands in a pig that aren't in a deer that have to be removed?
I mean, the pigs do have glands, and we run across them. They're not like the interdigital glands or anything like that I know of. Mikey, you aware of any that? I think it's just standard endocrine system, like a domestic hog. They probably they do have glands. You definitely don't want to eat one. I've tried one on a regular hog before. It's not. You'll spit it out pretty quick.
Larry, do you have a litter box at your house?
No, not in my house.
Yeah. Blood Dave, do you have a litter box?
I do.
Yeah.
It's
interesting that he would knew about that.
Started having cats, so we're new to the cat world.
I remember when I had this, they took forever to figure out what I had.
Yeah,
they said it was by far transmitted by cats more than anything, but deer could carry it too.
Yeah.
So, Vandy, you had something you wanted to add?
1993 when I had it.
I give up.
Vandy, what did you want to add?
What happened, Vandy?
He dropped his head.
You always complain about me not sitting in on the podcast. It's because you can't get a word in with anybody in here. I was going to say, when you were talking about the glands, going back to what Dudley said earlier about the gaminess when you're cooking stocks and whatnot down, I think that's a big part of it too. If you don't remove some of those glands, some of those.
Yeah, there's always one on the kind of near the tri-tip on a whitetail leg.
Yeah.
I know that, but
and I know it can be pretty foul tasting at certain times.
We ought to save some and do a taste test.
I'm not eating glands.
Yes, I mean that's probably best, and so that would be. I bet you no one's even got that on YouTube yet. You could do that. People would.
There might be a shocker there. Yeah. You probably have some value.
So if I'm at y'all's camp, what all are y'all cooking throughout the year? Do squirrels ever come into play?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you see Mikey's
Oh,
shirt.
my
He's
gosh.
got on the World Squirrel Cook-Off shirt.
Boom!
We just,
Look at that.
Vandy, we have got to go get that recipe from my mom before something happens to her. It's the best. All of my life, it was the best wild game we ever ate.
Squirrel
She's
and
gotten too
dumplings?
old to do it. Yeah, just her squirrel, period. One squirrel and dumplings.
No,
just her squirrel, just like it was. I mean, you could add the rice or the dumplings, or you could add biscuits or whatever. It was incredible. And it was
braised
the
down.
best, yes.
I love squirrel.
We need that.
It was incredible.
It's an undervalued food source.
It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
good.
She kind of fried hers and then kind
did.
of braised them down.
That's
Oh
right.
yeah.
Smothered, that's what we
It's
call that.
exactly.
My
But,
grand-
that's
that's
and
how
she
my
had
mom
that
does.
flavor just right. Like, we go crazy about the fried chicken out here at Old Waverly on.
It's pretty good.
But it's the overall flavor, and it's like amazing. But they have some touch to the meat, whether the way they brine it or marinate it in butter. I don't know what they're doing to it. But she did also, and it was just, I've eaten 10 different ways and people and squirrels, and it was the best I've ever eaten.
Well, we need that recipe.
Yes.
I
I've been
would
saying for
love
years
that.
we need to go get it from her, and it's in her head. It isn't on paper.
I want to
Those are the
know.
best.
Like most good recipes.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly how y'all fry deer meat.
Yes.
Like, what is your plan? I mean, everybody's got a way that they love to do it. I kind of want to know y'all's process.
Usually I tenderize it a little bit, just, flatten it out a little bit.
So any
But
cut? pretty much?
I mean, backstrap typically.
Oh, it's the best.
Is that?
for
I mean,
sure.
that's usually what we're frying, or the interloin. That's the best. But I'm not opposed to frying some hindquarter steak.
Oh,
There's a lot of
I love
10
it.
minute steak, a lot of
Yeah, a
tenderized
lot of them.
steak.
Yeah, they send
yeah.
tenderizer
But-
in any cut. I think at the processor.
But it's usually, I mean, I don't marinate it or anything. I may put it in a little buttermilk and hot sauce just to kind of
There we go.
tenderize it a little. Then it gets seasoned, dredged in flour, hot peanut oil until it's done. I mean, that's the one thing I really don't ever tempt deer. It kind of goes until it's golden crispy.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get it out. And then sometimes we'll eat it like that, just fried deer on a biscuit. If it's
How
for
thick?
breakfast.
How thick do you want it? Fairly thin, so you don't have to cook it
Yeah,
too
it's
long?
fairly thin. It's not.
Yeah.
I would probably say 1/4 inch.
Okay, yeah.
About that size. It might start out finger wide, and then by the time you hit it with a meat mallet a little bit. But I don't want it too big. I'm not frying a hand size piece.
Right.
I just like whatever size would go on a decent biscuit, sausage patty size. But also, Mikey does one he smothers down in gravy.
I was going
we
to
do a
say,
lot
does
of gravy.
anybody
We do a
do
lot of
gravy?
We do a lot of. We're making gravy every day.
So
maybe
y'all
twice.
keeping the good stuff in the bottom of the pan, or are you
Yes.
starting
Oh.
from scratch on
You
that?
leave it in.
You leave
it
You
in.
leave it in.
So pour most of the grease out, and then start making a gravy with
Well,
the
it
with
depends
the
on
stuff
what-
in the
yeah,
bottom.
Pull some of that grease out. We may add a little bit of butter to it, and then start putting that flour in there and getting that good stuff off the bottom. Throw a little bit of onions in there with it, and then you start adding your beef broth in, and just letting that start turning into gravy. Just keep stirring until you get it real thin, and then you take those fried pieces, and you don't even really have to tenderize those if you're going to do it this way. You can throw those fried pieces in there and just cover them up and let it go on low, and just keep adding a little liquid here and there. Check it for seasoning at the end, and it'll raise it down. It'll melt in your mouth.
Y'all making me hungry.
Why didn't y'all bring some to do that?
The only thing we really had to figure out how to cook is armadillo.
Yeah.
We've cooked about just everything.
I was
think
gonna
we even
ask.
cooked
Possum
bobcat.
on the half shell.
We've cooked a bobcat before.
What's think the bobcat's the oddest thing you've cooked?
Yeah, and I wouldn't go out of my way to do that. They're not the best.
I do want to try like beaver backstrap and hindquarter.
Beaver's pretty good. I like it. But most of the time I've eaten it, it's been cooked like a roast or something like that. So,
What about rabbits?
Ooh, I love rabbits.
oh yeah, rabbits and squirrels. Their recipes are similar.
Yeah.
A lot of gravy.
It's a lot
Lot of
similar,
gravy.
a lot similar to
gravy.
cooking that deer down.
Yeah.
You just have to. Usually with squirrel, you got to pressure it a little bit. I like to, now they've got these Instapots where you can put them in a pressure cooker. You don't have to get out the big rig with the rocker on top like Granny had.
Yeah.
But we'll put a pressure on them and then take them and then let them cool off a little bit. Then you can fry them and it'll just come right. It's as good as eating fried.
What does the
fried
pressure
chicken.
do?
I guess it just tenderizes it. It breaks it down more because you got to think that little squirrel's a tough animal.
Yeah.
He's
What-
working his
working
whole
all
life.
It's
If
the
you
most-
see him, boy, he's a bodybuilder.
It
It's
is
the most
hardboiled.
fall apart in your mouth
Yeah.
thing I've ever had.
When it's done right, yeah.
Her recipe was. I mean, literally.
That's
the last thing I ever thought of as a kid was that squirrel was tough at all. Later on, I tried cooking some without, her touching all. I learned real quick.
It is.
Just like deer, I remember, lucky we didn't get sick from it. I remember having everybody in camp, good Lord, 35 years ago. And, I killed a doe. I was so excited. We didn't, don't worry about food, supper. We'll just cut a
Camp meat.
camp meat.
Haul it
Yeah,
out.
that's it.
Put it
And
on the
nobody
grill.
said anything different. Cuz was there. Bob Dixon was there.
I was there.
All the crew, and we cut those back straps out and we cooked some on the grill and Cuz fried some, whatever. And I'm telling you, there's no way a hockey puck is that tough. It was the worst rubber. I mean, and we tenderized it, put tenderizer on it. Didn't matter. It hadn't gone through, and that's the thing in all meat processing, like the hoofed animals, is pre-rigor meat. if you hadn't let it, it'll be just like rubber. It's got to get.
That's what.
It's got to get to where that's stiff. It's called, like a deer. If he's been laying there long and he's stiff, or he's in the cooler and stiff. But if it's still really limber, it's that's called pre-rigor meat. And pork is okay, but not like deer and beef and stuff like that.
Well, that's another reason to leave it on the bone, because when you cut it through and you break them tendons, it'll never go into that rigor, and so it makes it tougher. But having it stretched out.
Yep.
When it goes through rigor and comes back out, it makes it more tender. It's more relaxed when it gets through it. So it doesn't have that bouncy effect, that rubbery effect.
Never
Malcolm,
thought about that.
You ever eat
Learn
the
something
bone?
every day.
I see people cook bones and split them in half and then scoop out the marrow. Do you ever do
I've
that?
only done it with domestic raised beef. I've never done it with a wild game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think I would do that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that.
I'm real with organs. I don't mess with anything brain, anything like that you can take a risk of getting something. I've just had too many people tell me that if you're going to get, it's like this toxoplasmosis. It's like, there's no use in taking that risk. I won't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to risk.
It's
eating
really
some of that
rare,
stuff.
but it's not good. I mean,
The biggest thing I'm scared of
A
now
lot
is
of our
tick
northern,
disease.
a lot of our
if I
northern,
get it, I'm out of business.
No doubt about it. Nobody wants alpha gal.
a lot of our northern friends are thinking like, well, why would I freeze the heart first? We always
Yeah.
cut that up and eat it first.
And we've done it. We've cooked it with
it's
some
good.
butter. It's really
It's
good.
good.
But I don't know if I'll do it again.
So you've got a business around selling seasonings.
Sure, yes, sir.
What are those called?
It's the Killer Hogs. That's my barbecue team.
Where would I find that?
Everywhere.
Yeah, you can't go in somewhere and not find it.
Is that right?
Yeah,
so
we
good.
just-
It really is so good.
We sell them worldwide. Yeah, we started out just a Mississippi company doing it. Me and my wife out of our home, probably more illegal than we should have been when we first started. But over the years, we've built it, and we've built a pretty good distribution network. And it's been through, sharing what we've knowledge on videos and on social media and stuff like that, and building it up and going around cooking these contests and hanging out with people and just learning as we go. It's built into pretty cool business.
Yeah, it's really good. Great stuff too.
He's got a seasoning for everything.
The AP is,
AP's.
I mean, you got to have that. But like, if you like eating eggs in the morning, this is my favorite thing to just
My
sprinkle.
kids say, "You got some AP, don't you?" Yeah.
Well, Vandy just raves about it all the time.
It's great stuff.
That's how this got started. He's just like, Malcolm this, Malcolm that.
Vandy reached out to me one day and asked me if I was interested when y'all. I guess it was for the Gamekeeper butchery line, and he was like, "You want to try some of this meat?" And so he sent me. I was like, "Man, I had no idea we could get somebody had wild game available that you could buy." Like I didn't get to go hunt some of these. I never would have got to go hunt elk. And he sent me, and I was like, "Man, this is the best venison there is. I love elk. I love
Those elk lollipops are.
Oh man, fantastic! Even the wild boar that Gamekeeper has is really, really good. And so I got to come and I got to do some recipes for y'all, and that was a lot of fun. And that's the cooking's brought me full circle because I've been a Mossy Oak fan all my life.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, how about that?
Malcolm basically crashed our website before we even launched it. Malcolm and Craig Verhaga, Barbecue Ninja, did a whole alligator video and posted and tagged us right as we were launching. And I mean, we got 10,000 hits. We didn't have very many gators. Yeah. We had like 4 alligators in stock. It was.
I've had more people tell me that they've cooked the alligator because of the Gamekeeper.
It was funny because we were like, "Oh man, should we carry alligators?" And like, but it was
It's a
a
little
novelty,
pricey.
but it's a hot seller.
It's
that's for
amazing.
sure.
We got back to that. It's all barbecuing is like a lifestyle, like it's a sport. It's not just like to get the meat from it, and people take great pride in it. It's amazing how many alligators. If you go to if it's like tailgating, it's thousands of people probably in tents and stuff. What a source of pride and novelty. Someone says, "Yeah, we're cooking a gator, whole gator." They can do that, and it's amazing how many people take pride in it.
That was a pretty good Cajun accent there, Toxic.
It's got the,
I don't know about that.
The whole alligator just has that wow factor when you do it. I mean, it is expensive.
A definite conversation
but
piece,
it's a cool, unique thing to do.
Well, when I'm looking over there, and y'all are making me remember some really being young, but being at a hunting camp, and there was just a lot of cooking going on a Saturday night.
And it was just that one night, really. Yeah. But there was a lot of different things. And some guys wouldn't actually go hunt. They'd stay back at the camp to cook.
I love it. To me, that's hunting. I mean, it's fun going out and picking out a target buck and hunting him, or having it. I don't know if I can compare it to. I don't know if barbecue's good as turkey hunting. But
yeah, let's not lose our minds.
We're not getting that crazy.
Man, this guy was cut out for our brand.
But there's something about that fellowship.
Yes.
And those stories, and that's when you think about it, it's probably tribal. I like to think that when
no doubt about it.
Invented fire and they started cooking stuff like that, they were always getting together, and I'm sure they went on big hunts, and that's where it came down. And those stories were told through cave paintings and all that. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
And we're hopefully passing that on to where the younger generation will catch on and want to do what us old guys are doing,
Now, y'all said it, I think y'all called it camp culture or something like that.
It's funny how that camp culture changes, though, because he's right. Like, it's festive and in the fall, and people are coming in from hunting, and he's been cooking for them. And, this guy saw, I saw, 12 deer came out in the field. Oh, my gosh, that shooter, 9 I've been after, I saw him. And the people are just talking about their hunts. And then you go to springtime. And you come in and someone's cooking. It's like, what? Man, I didn't see nothing. I ain't heard nothing. Man, I don't think
lips get tight.
I didn't even see a track anywhere.
He ain't even stopping to talk to us.
I've noticed that too. The turkey camp's a little different than deer camp.
And you've always got that guy, the biscuit making guy, and then you got the guy that may imbibe a little bit too much, and then there's a dynamic, and
you got to have the cleaner. You got to have the guy that washes the dishes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's the one that resets everything.
It's so fun, though.
The Furminator is the industry's most versatile piece of food plot equipment, allowing plotters to do every step of the process, working the soil, adding seed and soil supplements, and compacting, from start to finish with a single implement. It's hassle-free by design. Set it for the seed size and simply drive the tractor, and the Furminator does the rest. Check it out at thefurminator.com.
Nosler is known for their bullets, and now they're making suppressors. Nosler suppressors are made for hunting. Adding a Nosler suppressor to your rifle will make you a quieter, more accurate, and more effective hunter. Protect your hearing and disturb less game with a Nosler suppressor. The time to hunt quiet is now. Learn more at nosler.com.
And that's the cool thing about a camp.
Yes.
But a lot of guys, they may have a lease somewhere, and it's just them and their maybe a buddy or two, and they don't have a camp per se. But my point is, there's a lot that you're missing out on if you don't have access to having the opportunity to share a camp.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about like Hayden. I see him like a sponge standing back, soaking up everything you're doing.
He loves camp. He does.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And even my younger one, who is not as much into hunting, if you say we're going hunting, he's like, and we're like, well, we're going to go to the camp. He's, let's go, and his next question is, what are we eating? When we get there. Yeah. So it is.
What are we not asking y'all that we should be?
Man, I don't know. You got me on that.
I tell you what we got. We got a trivia question that was. I didn't know Mikey was coming, but we got a trivia question that's just for you.
You're the trivia guy, man.
And
I don't know the format of this whole thing. I'll let Bobby do it.
You just read the question.
So here we go. What we're doing. This trivia question is brought to you by, and how ironic, it's brought to you by Big Pig Traps.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, and if you've got a pig problem, you can trap them with Big Pig, and then you can eat them.
That's right.
You pick out the right ones.
Put some of this good killer hog seasoning on them.
So I learned recently that Malcom is a Vikings fan.
That's right. Yep. Grew up a Vikings fan.
They're having a good year.
Yeah. They are. And hey, I really don't want to talk about it.
He's a true fan now.
Yeah, I know how to put the jinx on them.
Yep.
So
that's how it feels to be a state fan.
Yeah.
It's probably been a long time since y'all.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I think the last good shot we had was when Brett Favre was there.
That's what I'm saying. That's the last time I remember. Almost made the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the Saints put a little bounty gate out on him and took him out. That was a hard one to watch, but it's tough being a Vikings fan. For one, in Mississippi, there's not a lot of us. But
no, there isn't.
That NFC North's a brutal division.
So, and let me announce that for the next 5 podcasts, Mystery Ranch has given us a backpack to
Oh,
give
they're the
away.
best. Oh, they're so nice.
We can't win again.
Well, maybe you could, Lane, if you would
How come
follow her.
how come those hadn't been in my closet?
Well, they didn't make it to. No, they did not make it to
No,
your
they
closet.
didn't.
But they just arrived yesterday. So for the next 5 weeks, if you leave a review, you got a
Say
chance
4.
of us
Look,
pulling or not.
You said you have 4 of them?
He said you had 4
I've-
of them.
Maybe 3.
Maybe
Three
of them.
backpacks.
Yeah,
I've
three
been a
backpacks.
fan.
Giving one away.
I've been a fan of the Mystery Ranch, and they go back to Dana Designs, and I've been carrying a Dana Designs
Dana.
backpack since the early '90s.
Yeah.
And I've also got a Mystery Ranch. I tried that new smaller backpack, day pack, on my elk hunt recently, and I loved it.
Wow.
They're just they're tough to beat.
That's good. So, Vandy, who won? Who is our prize winner? It's on the back there.
G. Slayton.
G. Slayton M.O. Doesn't it say
M.O.?
M.O.? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
G.
important
Slayton
there,
M.O.
Vandy.
G.
So
Slayton
G.
M.O.
Slayton M.O. is if you get in touch with us, you won the first Mystery Ranch backpack.
Look there.
I'm sorry, man. I'm looking for something to pick at you about.
Oh, go ahead.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. All right, so we got a trivia question?
Bobby's
we
got
do.
that haircut and he's feeling good about it.
Yeah, I got a fade.
He did get a fade. He's proud of it.
So the trivia question is: who is the Minnesota Vikings all-time passing yards leader?
Oh man.
Any true fan, I would think this would just
don't know.
bubble up in their
I
system.
don't know if Tarkenton was
There
throwing
we
the
go.
ball.
There-
Was that
There we
it?
go.
Was it?
Yeah, there you go.
What
I
did
wasn't
Malcolm
so
win?
sure about the forward pass being used as much back then. That's
He
been
was-
a long time ago.
He was the first. I remember him. He was the first scrambler.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You could not catch him. It was like trying to, catch an ant or something.
Yeah.
Back there. He was amazing. I think
Yeah,
he went to Georgia. I think he went to college in Georgia, didn't he?
I'm not sure
I think
about
he
that. That's
did.
way before my time. I just know that he was the man for the
He
Vikings.
was.
Went to Fort. I don't forget how many he went to.
He was kind of a spokesman. He was
I
really
think it was
successful.
3 or 4.
Kind of a spokesman for the NFL after he retired. And I
yeah.
think real successful in business.
Fran Tarkenton.
Fran Tarkenton.
There
Fran
it
the
is.
man. I remember him.
Yep.
Very little bitty guy compared to what we look at today.
So, Malcolm, for that correct answer, you and Mikey win some Companions T-shirts.
All right.
All right. Heck yeah.
Sure do. Vandy, we'll have to hook them up.
Vandy, you got to get him some T-shirts.
Dead gum. Mikey's always around for the good stuff.
That's right.
Yeah,
They do. We do. I have to brag again, but we make the best T-shirt I've had on.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
It is. And
It's
Ty,
amazing.
I would agree with him. It's a fantastic T-shirt.
Yep, those bamboo ones are unbelievable.
What we learned today, Lanny?
Learned all kind of stuff. I mean, I'm, I love the validation of the aging of the venison. That's for sure.
That is validation. I learned about the how you're doing this thermometer because I've wondered about that.
We'll get you a meat thermometer.
I've got one and I don't trust it. I'm always like, "Dang,
Thermal
this
works."
cannot
But you
be
know,
right."
I remember the days when they used to have, we'd hire photographers, and they were so good, for all this stuff we're doing. And he said, the only difference in a professional and an amateur photographer, and this is different today, but I'm going to go back 30 years. I said, what? He said, well, amateur needs a shot of something, he'll take 3 pictures. Professional does the same thing, just takes 3,000 to make sure he's got it. And for him to sit here and it's common sense, it's not rocket science. Get the thermometer, don't cut corners, make sure about what you're doing, and I'm kind of a scratch cook because I'm not, whatever, that
ADD.
experience, and so the more, Vandy is the one, use your dadgum thermometer, and just a few things like that made a huge difference for me. That's what I was getting to. It's just like, make it simpler, not more complicated,
Well, instead of having a sacrificial steak that you keep cutting into to
Yeah.
see how all of them are
Get a
done.
meat
I did
About
forever.
Right. That's about right.
Yeah. Meat
Definition of insanity, doing the same
Yeah.
thing over and over and expect different results.
Malcolm, if one of our listeners, you said your seasons are available everywhere. What about if they want to follow it? Is YouTube the best way to do that?
Any social platform. So we're on the YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, even the X. But it's at How to BBQ Right. And then you can also find me and Mikey at buckjunkies.com.
Buck
We do-
Junkies.
Yeah.
We do a lot of our camp recipes on that site.
That's gonna be a good one.
yeah.
Y'all are actually headed off from here, aren't you?
We are. We're headed over to just south of Pine Bluff, Arkansas for our early season primitive weapon hunt.
Nice.
So
Well, we need to see some blood on the biologic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got some blood on the biologic next week.
I hope to be texting soon. So I'll send
awesome.
it to Vandy for sure.
What kind of primitive weapon are you hunting?
Well, so I'm taking a 45-70. It's not very primitive. It's a Knight, so it's it's an older model.
Okay.
45. But they in Arkansas, the regulations are you can use a straight wall cartridge or primitive weapon, or muzzle loader. So that's what I'm going to take. I feel comfortable with that.
Nice.
That sounds good. Mikey, what about you?
Well, it depends on what field I'm hunting on. We got some guys over there that's got muzzleloaders already sighted in. I didn't bring a muzzleloader, but I did bring a old lever action 357.
Bush
So
gun.
if I'm on a field where I ain't got to shoot further than 50, 75 yards, I'm probably going to use that.
That would be fun.
That is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
We're doe hunting.
Yeah.
We're not going after racks. We're going after some early season meat. So.
Yeah, we fixed to get on the same too.
Yeah.
Do you think meat tastes venison harvested early in the year tastes better than later in the year? Or later in
I've
the year?
never really compared that, but I know beef does. It depends on when you get your beef. If it's been summer fed or grazed all summer long, or if it's a winter fed early spring season, just the difference in their diet. So it would make sense. Well, I know, for example, I can take an Illinois deer and it tastes totally different from our Hill acorn eating deer.
100%.
So it's the diet of the animal where it's going to make the difference in it.
So if you've got if you're going to cook something and somebody just killed and has aged a buck that was rutting hard chasing, or you got a doe that was right there that was
being rutted.
Yeah. What are you got? What are
I'm
you
going to go for the doe. I think those does always taste better than the
100%.
bucks.
Me too.
I mean,
Yep. I think that's with all this, elk or anything else.
more hormones running through those males.
Yeah.
Now, older. I mean, haven't eaten them. They just have longer strand muscles, and they shrink down and get tougher, easier, and just it is what it is. But they're all good. I mean,
They're
I guess
all good.
the older they are, probably even more important to age it. But I hope everybody here, and we've talked about it a lot on this podcast, but just learn the simple. It's the simple of aging. It will change your life. The venison is one of the
It'll
best
change the game.
meats on the planet.
Yeah.
And you people that say, I wouldn't eat wild game. You could serve it to them with Malcom preparing it and aging it like he can, and
They'd
I'm
never
telling
know
you,
it. Yeah.
you wouldn't believe how good it is.
I believe that.
It rivals some of the best steaks you've had. in
It
steakhouse.
really does.
I agree.
Handled right, it really
Yeah.
is.
So there's a local guy here named Brent Lockala, and he takes somehow I don't know how he does it. He takes a tenderloin and he cuts it, and there's this long bone coming out of it, and then he wraps 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and it looks like a crown.
Oh, he's Frenching it, isn't he?
That is the most delicious
Probably
looking
so.
thing I've
Yeah.
ever seen. But where can you get
What is
that?
the difference between delicious looking and delicious?
Well, I hadn't got to eat. I just
Get
see
you
a
a
picture.
battery
Of it.
powered reciprocating saw and,
you
and
cut the
just
ribs out.
cut down the ribs.
Do you not get bone fragments in the meat doing that?
I don't know if it gets in the meat, but you can take the little bone scraper and scrape off all the dust, and it'll clean it up some. And then they're probably splitting it lengthwise and braiding it, and then turning it, and it looks like it's a rope or crown.
Yeah. So y'all seen this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't. It's impressive looking.
Oh
isn't it?
yeah, it's a beautiful presentation.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed.
I'm
with
not a
your,
presentation
with your eating
guy.
stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm a flavor guy.
A meat thermometer.
Yeah.
You know.
I need to.
Yeah, you need to step your game up, bro.
Well, so here's what happens. I look on my little chart and it says 125 to 130 for medium rare. And when I do that and take it in there to my wife, she's like, "Nope, that needs to go back out there." But if I get it to about 140, then it's okay.
Even on your venison?
Yeah, no, this is steaks. This is steaks.
And another thing, you can pull it at about 125, and then you take it off. It'll get hotter after you
Yeah,
pull it.
what's the rule of thumb on that?
Usually, depending on thickness of the meat, that's the biggest thing on carryover and how hot you were cooking it. Because you got to think if you're cooking a steak at 700 degrees on a big green egg or something, it's getting blasted on the outside as opposed to just a charcoal grill at 350 over Weber or something,
Right.
So that's different. But carryover is a real thing, and so the bigger the piece of meat, the more heat it's got on it, the more it's going to carry over. But a thinner piece of meat, like just a regular sized steak, isn't going to go as far. So you could give it 5 to 7 minutes,
Right.
and you can watch it. You can buy a probe thermometer that's got the wire to it and the little digital display. Leave that probe in there, and I guarantee you it's going to go 7 to 10 degrees in those 5 to 7
That's what
minutes.
I was going to ask you. So a good sized piece of meat, and you had it like on the grill outside, and you're thinking 135 is your target. turn the grill off at 125 and let
And get it off.
and sit there and watch
I
it.
would take it off completely off the grill and don't wrap it up tight. Just loosely tin it with aluminum foil. You don't have to do anything crazy, and just let that residual heat. Because what's happened, all that heat's on the outside of it, and that cooking process is pushing all that moisture out to the surface. It's got to escape. Well, that rest lets all that hot heat, that hot energy, that juice go back into it. So it's just kind of calming down, and your temperatures are kind of evening out. And that's what you want to get to. You want to see that carryover happen to where the entire steak or piece of meat is stabilized. And that's where you're getting your constant temp. And that's going to be a better – it's going
on a deer tenderloin, how long is that, 10 minutes?
Yeah, at the most.
Yeah. So that's cool.
But a whole, like if you cook the whole loin, a back piece of back strap, it's probably going to take it 15 or 20 minutes to carry over because you cooked it whole.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Say you cooked a whole back strap.
Yeah.
Bob's dough backs, they were so good. Mm-hmm. So if what's your internal temp for that? 130?
I'm probably going to take it off at 125.
Okay.
And it's going to be about 132 to 135 when I slice it.
Perfect.
That's what
And it's melting your mouth at that temperature.
I put a slob of butter on it too. When
when it rests. Yeah.
Malcolm is the best at explaining this I've ever talked to.
How to barbecue right.
You really are. This is like
Bob, you might actually cook something.
You tell I got a little passion for the food.
It's a science.
It's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's entertaining to watch Bobby learning how to cook some of these things and branch out from his normal, Hardee's, Hooters,
Microwave,
Subway.
I love Subway.
Yeah, well, so when my wife and I got married, that's how I knew supper was ready, was when the smoke alarm would go off. She won't hear that. She doesn't.
I'm going to be sure she hears.
Yeah, we're going to play this one back for her.
Make sure, Richie, go ahead and.
Matter of fact, I was recording that.
Go ahead and turn that into a reel.
Well, I've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's great.
You guys are something else.
No, big time.
Yeah.
Again, the lesson beyond the lesson is just how much fun they have everywhere, especially, for them. The camp thing is just a way to celebrate life. It's way more than just killing a big deer or something. And so that's the lesson you can't get too much of out here today. The world needs more of that. So
it does.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Amen.
So between football season, hunting season, and just cooking at the house, there's a lot of cooking to be done.
A lot of cooking.
A lot
year
of
round,
fellowship.
Year round, never stops.
Got to eat every day.
My kids are hungry every day.
Well, speaking of that, I've got myself hungry sitting here.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. Toxie, you got anything else you need to add?
No, go eat. Let's go.
Yeah. Dudley?
I'm good.
I don't know about that, but
I'm fulfilled.
Oh, there you go.
all right. Well, Richie, do we have any business that we didn't tend to? Okay, that's all right. All right. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.